Some people spend their whole lives wishing they could be famous. Johnny Depp has lived that dream, and discovered it's nothing like what people imagine. To the world, he's a Hollywood icon. To himself, he's a man who can't remember the last time he walked into a cafe without 100 eyes following him. There's a strange kind of loneliness that comes with being recognized everywhere you go. It's not the kind of loneliness you feel when you're alone, it's the kind you feel when you're surrounded by people, but not one of them truly knows you. For Johnny, that feeling has been a constant companion for decades. From the outside, his life looks perfect. Mansions, movie premieres, yachts, standing ovations. But behind the curtain, the truth is much quieter, and much heavier. It's the truth of a man who, despite all his success, can't live a life most people would consider normal. Fame, for Johnny, has been a double-edged sword. It's given him the chance to play some of the most iconic characters in film history. It's taken him around the world. It's allowed him to create music, art, and moments that will live on long after he's gone. But it's also taken things from him, things he can never get back. Privacy. Peace. The freedom to simply exist without being analyzed. When Johnny first started out, things were different. Back then, fame was exciting. It felt like a reward for years of hard work, auditions, and rejection. Fans were curious but respectful. The press covered his career, not his every movement. He could walk down the street and maybe get recognized by a few people, but it wasn't overwhelming. All of that changed after Pirates of the Caribbean. Captain Jack Sparrow didn't just make him a star, he became a global phenomenon. Suddenly, his face was everywhere. Not just in movie theaters, but on lunchboxes, Halloween costumes, and video games. The world didn't just know who Johnny Depp was. They felt like they owned a piece of him. With that kind of fame comes an intensity that's hard to describe. It's no longer about your work, it's about your life. Paparazzi began camping outside his home, waiting for him to step outside. Every time he went to dinner, someone would take a photo and post it online within minutes. Even the most private moments were no longer safe. It's easy for people to say, that's the price of fame, but that's a shallow way to look at it. Fame isn't just attention. Fame is losing the ability to make a mistake without it becoming a headline. It's losing the ability to laugh with a friend in public without someone twisting it into a story. It's knowing that, no matter where you go, someone is watching, and not always with good intentions. Johnny has spoken about this before, in subtle ways. He's hinted that privacy isn't something that disappears all at once, it's something that gets chipped away. At first, you give a little for interviews. Then a little more for photo ops. And before you know it, the world feels entitled to every detail of your existence. Then there are the rumors. The internet moves faster than the truth. One photo out of context can create 1,000 false stories. Even if the truth comes out later, it rarely matters. The damage is done. People remember the gossip, not the correction. And it's not just the press. When you reach Johnny's level of fame, even personal relationships can feel complicated. How do you know if someone genuinely wants to be your friend, or if they just want access to your world? How do you know if a romance is real, or if someone is looking for their own brush with fame? That constant doubt takes a toll. It makes the world feel smaller, and your trust in people even smaller than that. The irony is, Johnny has always been a warm, generous person. He loves connecting with people, telling stories, making them laugh. But he's had to build walls to protect himself. His circle is small, made up of people he's known for decades, people who have proven they're there for him, not for what he can offer them. On film sets, Johnny can still be himself. There's a structure there. A shared goal. Everyone is working toward the same thing. He knows where the cameras are, and why they're there. He's in control of the performance. But the moment he steps off set, he's back in a world where every stranger could be someone with a phone, ready to capture him at his worst moment and share it with millions. Part of what makes his situation worse is the very thing that made him so compelling in the first place: mystery. Johnny doesn't overshare on social media. He doesn't let the public see every corner of his life. And while that's admirable, it also fuels curiosity. People want to know more. The less you give, the harder they push to find out. Over the years, he's tried to escape it. Not once or twice, but many times, in different ways, in different corners of the world. Johnny has always had this instinct to disappear when the noise gets too loud. To pack up his life, leave the city behind, and find somewhere the world can't touch him. Somewhere far from flashing cameras, from gossip headlines, from the constant hum of other people's curiosity. He's lived in quiet towns where the streets empty out by sunset, and the loudest sound you hear at night is the wind moving through the trees. He's spent months tucked away in old houses filled with art supplies, guitars, and books, places where the only visitors were friends who knew how to keep a secret. He's stayed in remote villas by the sea, where mornings began with the sound of waves instead of the shouts of paparazzi. For a while, it works. There's a rhythm to life again. He can breathe without feeling like he's on display. He can walk through a small market without anyone caring who he is, at least, for a moment. There's space in his mind to think, to create, to just be. Those days are precious. They feel almost like the life he might have had if the world had never learned his name. But fame is a shadow that doesn't disappear when you turn your back. It follows. It waits. And eventually, it finds you. Even in the middle of nowhere, there's always someone who recognizes him. It might be a single fan who spots him in a cafe and whispers his name to a friend. Or a hotel staff member who can't resist telling someone that Johnny Depp is staying in one of the rooms. It might be an innocent photograph posted on social media, a grainy shot taken from across the street, that suddenly spreads across the internet and brings photographers swarming. The first few days after being found are the worst. It starts small. A strange car parked just a little too long outside the house. A camera flash from somewhere you didn't expect. A local paper printing a rumor that the star is in town. Then, almost overnight, it's over. The peace is gone. The same streets that were once empty now have strangers waiting with phones in hand. Every errand becomes a performance. Every walk feels like a scene. It's not just the invasion of privacy, it's the feeling of being hunted in a place you thought was safe. It's the realization that no matter how far you go, you can't truly vanish. Fame has a way of leaking through the cracks. Someone always talks. Someone always sells the story. And when you've lived your life in front of cameras, it doesn't take much for the world to find you again. Johnny has tried every strategy. Changing locations before word gets out. Traveling under false names. Using friends' houses instead of hotels. But none of it lasts forever. Once you've been recognized, you can't erase that knowledge from someone's mind. And in the age of instant communication, a sighting can travel from a tiny fishing village to a Hollywood tabloid in less than an hour. There's a bittersweet truth in all of this. The places he chooses aren't just escapes, they're places he genuinely loves. He falls in love with the cobblestone streets, the quiet bars, the smell of fresh bread from a bakery that's been there for 100 years. He loves the way locals treat each other, the way life moves slower. But the moment people realize who he is, that place changes. It stops being his refuge and starts becoming another stage. And no matter how beautiful the scenery, it's hard to stay when you feel the eyes returning. He's told friends before that what he misses most isn't anonymity in the way most people think. It's the small, ordinary things. Being able to sit in a corner booth and listen to strangers talk without them noticing you. Being able to walk into a store and browse without feeling watched. Being able to laugh too loud in a restaurant without wondering if someone's filming it. Those moments are rare for him now. They exist only in the brief windows between arriving somewhere and being discovered. Even the people who mean well can make it hard. A fan who just wants a photo doesn't think about the fact that their post might reach millions. A local who's excited to tell their friends might not realize they're opening the door for journalists and photographers. Johnny understands it. He's never been unkind to someone for recognizing him. But that kindness comes with a cost. Because the moment he says hello, the moment he takes that picture, the bubble of privacy bursts. And yet, despite the frustration, he keeps trying. There's something in him that refuses to give up on the idea that there's a place out there where he can just live. Maybe it's an island far from anywhere, or a town so small it's barely on the map. Maybe it's not a place at all, but a moment, a stretch of days when no one comes knocking, when the phone doesn't ring, when the world simply forgets about him for a while. But those moments are fleeting. And deep down, he knows that this is the trade he made when he stepped into the spotlight all those years ago. You can leave Hollywood, but Hollywood doesn't leave you. You can leave the cameras, but they'll find you. You can leave the stage, but the audience will always be waiting for the curtain to rise again. Still, every so often, he gets close. There are nights when he sits on a porch with a drink in hand, listening to the crickets and the wind, and for a few hours, the world feels far away. There are mornings when he walks down a quiet street, sunglasses on, and no one notices. And in those moments, he remembers why he keeps searching. Because even if true escape is impossible, even if fame will always creep back in, those stolen hours are worth the chase. And maybe that's the heart of it. It's not about finding a place where no one knows him. It's about finding moments where the world forgets. Moments where he can be Johnny, the man, not Johnny Depp, the icon. Moments where he can just exist without explanation. Moments that, no matter how brief, remind him that he's still more than the stories told about him. Then there are the public battles. The court cases. The legal fights that played out like reality TV for the entire world to see. Those moments didn't just take away his privacy, they turned his personal pain into a global spectacle. People chose sides. Strangers debated his life as if they knew him personally. It's the kind of scrutiny that leaves scars you can't see. And here's the truth, when you've reached a certain level of fame, you can't just walk away from it. It's not a job you can retire from. Your face is too well known, your name too deeply rooted in popular culture. Recognition follows you everywhere, into restaurants, airports, even countries where you've never worked. Through all of it, Johnny has kept creating. No matter what storms have surrounded him, no matter how loud the noise from the outside world has gotten, he's always found a way to keep that spark alive. Acting was his first love, and it remains a part of who he is, not because of the fame it brings, but because of what it allows him to do, to tell stories, to become someone else for a while, to step into another reality. It's both an escape and a return to himself. He's still making films, choosing projects not for how big they are or how much money they'll make, but for the challenge they bring, the people he'll work with, and the chance to create something that matters to him. Some roles are quiet, small, intimate, others are larger-than-life characters that demand everything from him. Each one is a way to channel his experiences, the highs, the lows, the battles no one else has truly seen, into something that lives beyond him. In a strange way, every film becomes a time capsule, a piece of his life preserved in performance. Then there's the music. Music, for Johnny, is different from film. It's raw, immediate, and deeply personal. When he's on stage with his band, there's no script, no multiple takes, no second chances. It's just the music, the moment, and the energy flowing back and forth between him and the crowd. Playing live is intoxicating for him, not because of the applause, but because it's one of the few times he feels completely free. On that stage, he's not being chased by cameras or dissected in headlines, he's simply a man with a guitar, lost in the rhythm, sharing something real. Fans who have been to his shows talk about how present he is in those moments. He looks people in the eyes, smiles at them, sometimes even kneels at the edge of the stage to reach out and take a hand. It's a kind of connection that isn't filtered through tabloids or social media, it's direct, human, and honest. Those nights often stay with him for weeks, sometimes months, because they remind him of the bond he has with people who have been in his corner through everything. Art is another sanctuary for him. Painting isn't something he does to be seen, it's something he does because it lets him pour pieces of himself onto the canvas. His work is often vibrant, layered, and filled with faces, people who've shaped his life, inspired him, hurt him, or simply existed in his memory. He said before that painting allows him to have conversations with those people in a way that words never could. Alone in a room with brushes, paint, and silence, he can lose hours, even days, without thinking about the outside world. And then there's the joy of simply being with friends. Johnny has always surrounded himself with people who make him laugh, who don't care about the Hollywood version of him, who will sit with him in a kitchen at 2 a.m. telling stories or playing music until the sun comes up. These friendships are his anchor. In a world where so much feels performative, they are his reminder of what's real. He can be Johnny, not Johnny Depp, with them. There are nights when those friendships turn into impromptu jam sessions, guitars come out, someone pours a drink, and before long, the house is filled with music and laughter. It's not planned, it's not for an audience, it's not for social media. It's just for the people in the room. Those are the moments he treasures, because they can't be sold, they can't be twisted, they can't be taken out of context. But even in the middle of these joys, there's always a shadow. A quiet understanding that no matter how happy a moment feels, it exists within a life that has been forever changed by fame. There's no going back to the days before the cameras, before the headlines, before the world decided it had a stake in his every move. The past is gone, and with it, the version of himself that could have lived quietly, anonymously. This reality doesn't make him bitter, it makes him more protective. Protective of his time, his art, his relationships, and his peace. Every film he agrees to, every concert he plays, every public appearance he makes is weighed against the cost it will have on his sense of normalcy. He knows that the joy of creating will always be balanced by the attention it brings. Yet, that balance is worth it to him. Because without the work, without the music, without the art, he wouldn't be himself. Creating isn't just what he does, it's who he is. It's the thread that's run through every chapter of his life, from a young musician trying to make it, to an actor discovering his craft, to a man who's been both celebrated and criticized in equal measure. And maybe that's why, despite everything, he keeps showing up. For the fans who have stood by him through years of highs and lows. For the friends who remind him what matters. For himself, because creating is the one thing that fame can't corrupt, the one thing that still belongs entirely to him. Those moments of joy, whether they're on stage, in front of a camera, at a canvas, or around a table with people he trusts, may be framed by the reality of his life, but they're also the reason he keeps going. Because at the end of the day, those moments are proof that even in a life he can't live on his own terms, he can still find pieces of freedom. And sometimes, those pieces are enough to carry him through everything else. He has lived a life that millions of people dream about. But it's a life with a price you can't measure in money. It's the cost of losing anonymity forever. The cost of being a story before you're a person. So maybe the question isn't whether Johnny Depp can live a normal life, maybe the question is whether we, as a society, will ever let him. Whether we can resist the urge to capture every sighting, to dissect every rumor, to turn every moment into content. Because maybe the greatest gift we could give someone like Johnny isn't applause, or awards, or attention. Maybe it's the freedom to walk through the world like any other human being. And maybe, just maybe, the next time you see him, instead of reaching for your phone, you let him pass by. Not as a celebrity. Not as a headline. But as a man who's given the world decades of stories, and deserves to have a few of his own.